Hi there, Cliff here from Retired Guy. Now, is it worth saving for retirement? That's a question that's been on my mind recently, ever since I did a video about living on the state pension. And after I did that video, I received numerous comments from viewers saying it's just not worth saving for retirement. Now, it's really difficult to answer a question like that because each of us has different circumstances. So what I'd like to do today is to analyse a number of scenarios to try and answer that question. Is it worth saving for retirement? Now, in each of these scenarios, I'm going to take a single person that's just come up to state retirement age, living in a one-bedroom privately rented flat in Stevenage in Hertfordshire. Now, you may be thinking, well, why Stevenage in Hertfordshire? Well, the thing is, you have to choose a location because housing benefit rules mean that the housing benefit entitlement changes from area to area based on property prices and rental prices in those areas. So I've chosen a town in the county where I live, Hertfordshire. It's not the most expensive town in Hertfordshire, and it's not the cheapest. So it's somewhere in the middle, and I've had a look on Rightmove at rental prices currently, and it's possible there to rent a one-bedroom apartment flat for £995 per month. So that's the figure I'm going to use when later we look at any benefit entitlements that these individuals may have. So there we are. This is the type of accommodation that I'm talking about. One bedroom, privately rented apartment for a rent of £995 per calendar month. Now, the next thing we need to be aware of is the local housing allowance rate for the area that we've chosen, which is Stevenage. And the applicable rate that we're interested in here is the one-bedroom rate, which is £178.36 per week. Now, it's worth knowing that, let's just say our single person was renting a two-bedroom apartment. Because they're single, it's deemed that they only require a one-bedroom apartment. So they would still, notwithstanding the fact that they are actually living and renting a two-bedroom apartment, they would still only be entitled to a maximum of the one-bedroom rate, £178.36. Not everybody is aware of that, and this rule is what gave rise to the idea of a bedroom tax. You might have heard of that term. What it really means is that local authorities will pay housing allowance for necessary accommodation, not for the accommodation you want to live in, but for the number of bedrooms that you need. So let's get into our first scenario. In this scenario, the individual concerned has either never worked or not worked long enough to have accumulated 10 years worth of national insurance contributions. And as a result of that, because of the way the state pension rules operate, this person is not entitled to a state pension. They have no savings and they have no other source of income. They're living, as we have noted, in this one-bedroom flat in Stevenage. Now, they clearly can't live on zero income, so I'm going to make a check of what benefits they may be entitled to, and I'm going to use the Entitled To benefits calculator. Now, what we can see here is that this individual is entitled to a total amount of £1,853.93 monthly. And that is made up of pension credit, because don't forget this person is not entitled to a state pension. Pension credit of £984 10 pence per month, council tax support of £94.81 per month, and housing benefit of £775 and 2 pence per month. And that gives us the total amount of £1853 and 93 pence. Now, our next scenario is slightly different. This is a person that has accumulated 35 years worth of national insurance contributions. In other words, this is a person that up to retirement age has worked all their life, or certainly enough to be entitled to the state pension. Now, this person has no savings and no other source of income, and again living in this one-bedroom flat in Stevenage for a rent of £995 per calendar month. Now, this person gets the state pension of £921 every 4 weeks, but are they entitled to any other assistance? Now, intuitively, you might think that this person with 35 years of national insurance contributions might be significantly better off in retirement than the person not entitled to a state pension. But let's have a look. Once again, we'll look at the entitled to benefits calculator. This time, the total benefits entitlement is £858 19 pence monthly. This is in addition to the state pension. Now, as I've said, the full state pension is £921 every 4 weeks, but we want to calculate the equivalent monthly amount now, because we're dealing in these scenarios in income per calendar month. Now, £921 is paid every 4 weeks, in other words, 13 times a year, and we need to calculate the equivalent amount as if it was paid 12 times a year, i.e. once per month. And that works out to be £997 and 75 pence per calendar month. So to work out the total income that this individual receives, we need to add the £858.19, which is made up of council tax support of £92.08 and housing benefit of £766.11. We need to add all that to the monthly equivalent amount for the state pension, which is £997.75. Now that gives a total income for this individual of £1,855.94, which is basically £2 higher than the first scenario, where that person was not entitled to the state pension because they had not accumulated at least 10 years worth of national insurance contributions. Now, you may be surprised by that. That is almost an identical income. So let's get straight into our third scenario. Now, this person is also qualified for a full state pension, but on top of that, they have been paying in throughout their working life into an occupational pension and are now receiving £700 a month from this occupational pension scheme. Now, as before, let's have a look at the entitled to benefits calculator to see if this person is entitled to any additional help. Now, when we enter the details into the benefits calculator, including the £700 occupational pension, we can see that this individual is entitled to an additional £309.86 per month, and that is entirely made up of a payment for housing benefit. So, to calculate the total income that this person has, we add the £309.86 to the state pension and the occupational pension, giving a total monthly income of £2,007.61. And that is about £153 more than per month more than the person that wasn't entitled to the state pension because they didn't have at least 10 years worth of national insurance contributions. and £151 more than the person that had a full state pension but no pension savings or additional savings. Let's get into our fourth scenario now. This person has qualified for a full state pension because they have at least 35 years worth of national insurance contributions. They haven't been paying into a pension scheme, however, but they have been saving in the bank, for example, in an ISA. And they have accumulated, by the time they get to state retirement age, they've accumulated £150,000 in savings. So is this person entitled to any additional help on top of the state pension? Let's have a look again at the benefits calculator. So after entering all the relevant details into the calculator, including the £150,000 of accumulated savings, we can see that this particular individual is not entitled to any further assistance. So his total income is made up simply of the state pension, which is £921 every 4 weeks, or the equivalent monthly amount being £997.75 per month, which in this scenario is only just enough to cover the monthly rent and wouldn't even pay the council tax. So there we have it. We've looked at 4 scenarios, 2 savers and 2 non-savers. In 3 of the scenarios, the people had worked long enough to qualify for a full state pension, and in the other case, the individual had not worked long enough to qualify for even the minimum state pension. So we've tried to look at the question, is it worth saving for retirement? What do you think? After looking at these 4 scenarios, is it worth saving for retirement? Please let me know in the comments below. So that's it for this video. I hope you found it informative. If you have, please give it a like and please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.